Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Michael Bartlett, Master Metaphysical Astrologer, here to talk about the astrological forecast for September 2023. Please note that dates and times are approximate depending on where you are on the planet, and I do what's called a fourth harmonic forecast, meaning that I'm paying attention to the conjunctions, squares, and oppositions that are occurring between the planets and how they would be affecting us here on the planet. I would like to thank, of course, Christine Cianci, who did all the art images for our Astro Theater, like our image behind me of the moon in Aquarius. You can visit her website at www.cianciart.com. And finally, after the last few months of continuous opening squares and lots of oppositions, we're finally getting a slight breath of fresh air in September, I would say. What's most interesting I find about September is out of the whole year, the only planet that is not in retrograde motion right now is Mars. Venus will be going out of retrograde motion on September 3rd, and Mars is not going to be going into retrograde motion until, well, for some time. So this is a really good time. This is a time to really think about reviewing things. Retrogrades often mean that we have the time to take a moment back. We get to step back for a moment and review things. Lots of words, as I've said before, that begin with the letters R-E, like rest, review, reconsider, rethink, revisit. Really good time for all that, with all the planets focusing on in a retrograde motion from our place here on the planet Earth. As I said, on the 3rd of September, Venus will be moving back into a direct motion, which will signify a little bit easier way of accessing your Venusian energies and feeling maybe a little more creative and expressive in oneself. On the 4th of September, Jupiter begins its retrograde motion away from Uranus. This is good time to, I would say, when it comes to Jupiter and Taurus loves being luxurious, loves being treated well. So this is a good time for, if you can afford it, having massages or getting your feet rubbed, or your throat, especially your neck and your shoulders and your throat because of Taurus. Really good time for self-care and eating good food and taking really good care of yourself. On the 6th of September, Mercury switches and it's still in its retrograde motion, and moves into a conjunction with the sun in the sign of Virgo. Mercury rules Virgo. This is a good time to get things done, although it is retrograde. So those projects that you've been kind of keeping in the back of your mind about when you should do them, this is really kind of a good time to go out there and get these things tied up and taken care of. Any kind of loose ends, especially with job, work orientation, and communication aspects. Maybe there's something that's been out there for a little while that needs to be resolved, that's coming up for you to really pay attention to with this conjunction on the 6th of September. On the 15th of September, that Mercury is going to be going into turning back and going direct. While it's good then for, obviously, you can start doing things a little bit more in a forward orientation with Mercury and getting things done. It's still within the shadow, which what we say with shadow is that same space within its movement in Virgo that it was before during the retrograde period. So it's kind of like a time of kind of regaining and kind of going over some of the steps and things that we've done and seeing what really needs to be more perfected. As we can see from the imagery here, these are two individuals with calipers in their hands, meaning they're measuring the quantity, the quality, the physical dimensions of things, and seeking to provide an ever more perfect example of how things can get done and more efficient. On the 16th of September, we have Jupiter going into a retrograde motion, which puts it into an opening square. Of course, this has been continuing on. Venus rules the sign of Taurus. Venus is in the sign of Leo. As we know, it's also it's going movement forward. So Venus is going forward, Jupiter is going backwards. They're going splitting apart from one another. Opening squares, as I've said before, have to do with 2 steps forward, 1 step back. It's sort of a review thing when we think of what was going on around the 3rd of March 2023, when when Jupiter was in Aries, and we would have had that Jupiter and Venus would have been in Aries conjunct, having gone through this. So Venus is now in this position where there's a square. So kind of reviewing things. How's it going in the relationship department? How's it going with your kids? How's it going with your self-expression? How are your values taking a hit? What's coming up that you need to maybe reconsider that started back in March of last year, or March earlier this year, sorry. On the 19th of September, we have a Sun Neptune opposition, Sun in Virgo, as we know, and Neptune in Pisces, who is also with Saturn in Pisces. Mercury is there also with the Sun. So we have this is can be a confusing day. I'm really not quite sure about how to take care of things. The Sun's going to want to get things done and get and have a schedule and have details that need to be addressed and lists that need to be taken care of. And that Neptune in Pisces is going to say, hey, don't worry about it. Let's have a glass of wine. Let's go smoke a doobie. Let's go and just let's go sit at the ocean. Let's meditate together. Let's create something spiritually beautiful together. That kind of dichotomy, the chaos and the beauty that gets created out of the chaos, when it's in that relationship with something that wants to create order, such as where the Sun is on the 19th. And I would say what was beginning for you again back in March of 2023, earlier this year, on the 16th was when the Sun and Neptune were conjunct one another. So we call that a new birth. That's a new decision. Some things that you might have decided regarding your spirituality, deciding around how you take care of your household, or how you are in relationship to your work and your spirituality, how you deal with the sacred and the profane, just all, various ways of looking at things. On the 22nd of September, we have that monthly shift of the Sun moving out of the sign of Virgo and into the harmonious and beautiful sign of Libra, where he is joining Mars. This is an annual event. This harkens fall in the Northern Hemisphere, and it harkens to, of course, spring in the Southern Hemisphere. And in the sign of Libra, it's wants things to be harmonious, but we can see that even when we're trying to do things, we're trying to do the best of things, and we're trying to do things in a harmonious manner. So we think, here's someone with a knife behind our back. So be careful, especially with Mars here, and what might show up and what might be seen during this time. On the 24th of September, we have a Mars Chiron opposition. This goes back to June 15th of last year, when Chiron and Mars were conjunct in the sign of Aries, which Mars ruled. So very much about getting things done and healing and addressing things and being a bit more warrior-like in one's approach, and being a bit more fearless, which is very different from when Mars is in Libra and has to really consider other people's feelings and how things might affect others, and has to actually kind of deal with compromise, to be honest. On the 15th of August, we have Uranus going into a retrograde motion, which is then putting it into an opening square, as it has been doing with Venus for some time. So this is really what are the changes and forms that need to happen in your life? How do you need to be changing your relationship to money, your relationships to everything pretty much in life? What's your relationship to food? Are you being too excessive in some areas? Are you not being excessive enough? Are you being are relationships feeding you in the ways that you need to? This goes back to when what was seeded again. This all goes back to March. A lot of things that were going on back in March for people should be seeing these themes kind of reappearing for them. So this was seeded on the March 31st of earlier this year, 2023. That's it for the major aspects for September 2023. If you're interested in looking for astrological coaching, because it's really hard to have transformation occur in one session, I work really well with helping people to define what the purpose is as stated in their chart, and aligning that with how they are going about their lives in a way that is much more harmonious and healing, and involves a lot of opportunities for having a much more exciting and rewarding life. So please feel free to visit my website, coremichael.com. And I wish you all a wonderful September. And please feel free to contact me if I can be of service to you. Take care and have a wonderful month.